And we want to get into that discussion, and the question you're asking this morning is, what are your expectations for the new IG designate of police? You can tweet and text 22422, hashtag is daybreak. You can also call in 0719 777. What are your expectations of the new Inspector General designate, who is now Hilary Mutyambai? We'll get into that discussion in just a bit, but let's give you a context of what it takes to actually be an Inspector General. There are certain qualifications that you have to meet. First one, which is rather obvious, you have to be a citizen of Kenya, not any other place, just Kenya. And there's also, you have to hold a degree from a university that is recognized in Kenya, and he must have had a distinguished career in the respective fields. There is still more. This is according to the National Police Service Act of 2011. There's still more. They have to meet the requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, that is based on the integrity factor, and must have served in a senior management position for at least, get this, 15 years. It doesn't end there, though.
All right, Trevor, let's take a snapshot at their functions. There are over 15 of them, but we just picked a few of them.
Yeah.
They will implement policy decisions. He or she will also audit police operations and functions, coordinate all police operations as well. But there's more as well. They will advise the government on policing matters and services. They're expected to prepare budgetary estimates and develop a policing plan. And they're also expected to organize their service at a national level into various formations, units, or components. Trevor, before you fire the first question to the panel, I've quickly gone to his Twitter handle. It's not verified, so we could say it's his, it's not his. It was a very quiet Twitter account until yesterday, when it sprang to life. A pinned tweet there says, I know Kenyans are full of expectations. Well, this platform is open 24/7. Forward all your questions here and let's talk. Hashtag Ask Hilary. That was 8 hours ago. But this morning, he's also tweeted, good morning, Kenyans.
All right.
So good morning.
Good morning from the IG designate.
Right.
All right. Let's get some quick reactions first. What was your reaction when you saw that appointment, Simi?
I was not surprised, because even Boynet, we were surprised.
So you're just being surprised.
So you've been surprised enough times.
Oh, yes. So, and then, of course, I also looked at it now, the tendency that the president is having. And I can talk with pride because I'm also an ex-military. He seems to be really now going for intelligence and military people. For some reasons, probably he thinks those are the only people remaining he can trust. But we hear was a deputy director of counterterrorism. But I know he also served in Mombasa as a regional intelligence officer. But his depth, what we understand, is on counterterrorism. And probably that's why many people don't know him. Because most issues
including many people on this table.
Yes. Many people in counterterrorism, they don't want to be identified per se. But number two, you know, he also comes in from that level of deputy director. He's not junior, he's not the senior most.
Okay.
So probably that's why he was not visible to the Kenyan people.
Have you met him personally?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure you want to answer that, or you're sure that you've met him?
I'm not sure.
What are we to
because I've done a lot of things in this country on security matters.
Okay, carry on.
Yes.
Sorry, you were saying.
I think what we expect from him is not much. Under the tenure of Boynet, there are so many things the country assisted him to do. For example, on police reforms, we have programs that are running. I think the last one ended last year. The second phase of police reforms, because it was being done in 5 years. So we expect him to pick up from where we've left. We also expect him to actualize what has already been done, or what has been passed, and we are waiting for actualization for the police. So nothing much actually we expect from him. The systems are already in place. What we want to see from this gentleman is his leadership.
That's what you want to see?
That is the only thing we expect him to give us.
I'm curious if that's what Monica feels.
Yes.
Former administration police, you're now really championing women's issues in the police and in security matters. What are your expectations of this possible new man at the helm, depending on how his vetting goes?
First and foremost, I would say that I'm representing women. I thought even women, the other women also with qualifications, who could also maybe be chosen, but maybe in near future. So we expect a lot from him. because we cannot judge him much, because when he has been picked from so many other competitors, I believe he has the qualifications and the skills also to be the Inspector General. And us is to wish him well, Wahiga, because we cannot keep on throwing stones. So I ask even Kenyans to give him moral support so that we can be able to work and deliver his duties.
But it's a difficult job that he's agreeing to take up. What would you want to see him prioritize?
I would wish to see him prioritize much more on extrajudicial killings.
Okay.
Because I have seen some tweets before, and in the social media, people where they were saying that Boynet was not able to handle matters of extrajudicial killings. So much more on extrajudicial killings, I think it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mwenda, what do you make of the appointment?
Well,
have you met the man?
No. I've never heard of him until yesterday, and I was actually at the Kenya School of Government with some colleagues there, doing some work, and when the appointment was made, we saw breaking news, and I shared it with colleagues in the meeting. So one colleague whispered to me, she said, "Have you ever heard of him?" I said, "No, I've never even heard that name." She said, "If you in security sector have never heard of this man, then how about the common Kenyan?" So, well, at least I'm happy Senior Werunga might have met him, he's not sure.
He cannot confirm.
He cannot confirm. And this gentleman, I hear he's from the NIS, so he's a mysterious guy. He's like wind. He's blowing everywhere. So maybe, even me, maybe I've met him. Maybe he's even watching us this morning. So first I congratulate him and wish him well. But I'll tell him the job he has taken is not a mean feat. And that's not a job that you take with half-heartedness. He has just been cast on the hot seat. And I don't think there's a seat hotter in security sector in this country than that of the police. And it's coming in at a time when there's so much expectation by Kenyans on the role of police, you know, in our country. Right now we are transiting. There's a thought in the private security sector where me and my other colleagues now work at after we left our previous assignments. Is coming in at a time when we are professionalizing the private security sector, or there is a lot of work going on in the private security sector, so that primarily police can revert to their primary role, the responsibility to keep law and order in Kenya. So it's coming in when the expectation on the work of the police is so high on the side of Kenyans. And I want to tell him, even his colleagues are waiting on him. When I saw, when Boynet was leaving that day, I woke up to a certain security group that I'm a member, and most of the people in the group are police officers or ex-police officers. And they were commenting about some of the things that Boynet did and those he did not do. And one that he did not do was Boynet came in and actually scaled down on the payment of police officers who had university degrees. There was this, excitement in police that if you go to the university, get a degree, this will enhance your work terms and you get a better pay. So a lot of police went in and acquired university degrees. When Boynet came at some point in his leadership, he said, "No, I will not pay you according to your degrees, I will pay you according to your ranks." That caused a brain drain from the police service. Police officers left, and I'm telling you, the private sector is waiting for security officers who have gone through some form of training, and now they can come and work in the private sector. There was poaching, literally. There was...
And is this something Boynet actually said on record, or was it a secret?
No, it was on record.
It was on record?
It was on record.
I know I've heard about it, but I'm not...
It was on record.
Heard it publicly from the man's mouth.
It was on record, and I actually discussed it 2 days ago with a senior police inspector, Assistant Inspector General of Police, who confirmed to me it was true. But now, this gentleman is coming in at a time when police officers feel there's brain drain from the police service. Yeah. Can he restore that confidence? Okay. Can police officers go to school again and be promoted on the basis of their degree? Okay. In the military where I came from, unless anything has changed since the time I left, and my senior was there as well, when you go to university and get a university degree or a higher, whatever, even diploma, that enhances your promotion at the workplace. Yeah. So the police feel they have been neglected on that sector. Yeah, and so I welcome our colleague, if he's watching, welcome my friend, the seat is hot.
Irungu, I know you have an entire paper on what...
I have many things I could talk about, but I think I would start by firstly just acknowledging that Kenyans are sometimes quite overly suspicious. I mean, I think in a country where Joshua Waiganjo impersonated a senior officer for many years, there's always been a question about, who is this person, where have they come from, and so on. But I'm sure this will become clear as we move towards the parliamentary vetting, and it's really the job of the parliamentary vetting committee to establish how is his career distinguished in a manner that he could be given such a responsibility. I think just quick reactions. We were discussing this earlier. I think many Kenyans who have been worried about the choice of security, the leadership of our security agencies and our law enforcement agents coming from one particular ethnic community. We can be happy that there is a more ethnic diversity in terms of the appointments that were announced yesterday by the President. I think there's been a bit of a question mark about when Inspector General Boynet was appointed back, I think it was 2015. This was a moment when we were really grappling with a weak and an ineffective anti-counterterrorism strategy. We have seen many steps away from that situation. More recently with Dusit D2, we saw that we actually can rely on our security agencies to take action decisively.
A more coordinated response.
So the question, I guess, for me is, it is interesting that the President has gone for a counter-terrorism professional in a context where terrorism has actually decreased in terms of the numbers of incidents that we're facing. Now, that doesn't say anything about what the nominee will bring to this work. But I think for me there would be 4 expectations. The first is how can we create a police service that is more accountable, is less prone to petty bribing and corruption. The second area really is around professionalism. How can we see a police service that is actually is better remunerated, its welfare is taken care of, and it is actually operating within the rule of law. And the third one really is compliance with human rights principles within the Bill of Rights and the Constitution of Kenya. The fourth one is cooperation with agencies. One of the things that I think we we've been disappointed with for the last 4 years or so has been the cooperation with IPOA and the Internal Affairs Unit, and this comes back to the issue of extrajudicial killings or simply violent policing and use of excessive force. There has not been as much energy that has gone into that, and sometimes I've wished that the police service would embrace the challenges related to violent policing. Just to give you an example, last year we've basically had 150 cases since 2013 and 2017 of I guess what you'd call unlawful killings. Many of those are now beginning to come to court, and we're seeing the courts beginning to pronounce guilty verdicts for a number of police officers. So I think the IG-elect will probably, not elect, it would be selected, I think is the correct word. If there's an English, designate would be, what's important for him now, I think, is really to clarify in his mind what are the strategies on these 4 areas. And if I can just talk about another one, the criminal justice system is ineffective for one basic reason, which is that the police are essentially clogging our system, our courts, with petty offenders, drunk and disorderly. 75% of the people that go through our law courts are petty offenders. They're not terrorists. They're not even the sex offenders that we're seeing here. They're really people that are committing what we used to call crimes of poverty. And I think that backlog could be assisted by essentially having some reforms in the nature of charging by the police. The DPP has already declared that they will institute, I think in a couple of months' time, charge sheets. So this arbitrary arrest that you have on a Friday night, or what they call the Pro Box Brigade.
Kamata.
Exactly.
Local lingo.
But that's the Friday one, right? The other one that many people in the urban settlements are very worried about is this one of being just stopped at 9 o'clock at night. You're coming home from work and the police basically ask you for 500 bob, and if you're caught at 11 o'clock, it's 1,000 shillings. Otherwise, you go and you're processed. And Friday night is the worst.
Okay. And maybe one of the other fears that I personally have, and maybe I could be speaking to on behalf of some Kenyan, is now that he's a former NIS, or maybe currently NIS, Yeah, I think he's in NIS. And his predecessor, immediate former, predecessor is ex-NIS as well. That is Mr. Boynet. There's a feeling that I personally have that maybe he will be a stooge of Boynet. I had, similar fears about my brother Kinoti. We come from the same county with him when he took over the DCI. But Kinoti has distinguished himself. He's completely walked from the shadow of his former boss, Mr. Muhoro. Kinoti has cut his own niche. He stood on his feet. And I think Kenyans acknowledge that he's a real Meru guy. Not the Hasira or Meru that you talk about, but really stood out. But really, Mr. Hilary has the challenge to show that he will not be in the shadow of Boynet. And since I've never heard of him, even this Twitter account, I've refused to follow it because it's not confirmed.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? The mystery surrounding the...
It is actually a bad thing now. Maybe previously he could hide. Having been in the intelligence, he didn't need to be known.
And you said in many ways that's a good thing when you're in intelligence.
Yeah, you stay under. I mean, you hide so that he could do his thing. But now he cannot do his thing. When he comes here, he's a public officer, he's a public servant. One thing that Kenyans will expect from him is communication. We got the chance to know who Boynet was. Other than what we've seen, the DCI tweet, the NPS tweeting and engaging with Kenyans. There's even a day I received an inbox, what they call DM, direct message, from police about a guy who at the Meru stage, tea room. You guys keep accusing Merus of tea room that we don't know Nairobi unless it's tea room. So there was this guy at tea room, a tout, who hit some boy and hurt him, and the boy either was admitted in hospital or even died. We didn't really, we tried to follow about the boy. No one knew where the boy went. So we couldn't even follow to get the tout charged. But then when I Facebooked about it, I received a message from the police in my DM. They said, what do you know about him? So we called some friends and we provided some information to the police. I was really surprised that police can actually DM you in your Twitter account. So this gentleman cannot bring intelligence thing in police. If he tries that, we will fry him so badly. He cannot bring mystery.
You are really worried.
He cannot bring mystery. There is no more. Mr. Boynet has demystified police. Police Nisisi. He must talk to us. This account his IT team should tell him to verify this account because I'm not going to follow this account. It could be a blogger. And actually, I know some crazy guys who create Hilary. There will be a lot of Hilarys now created.
By the end of the day.
But then he should verify it. And as I wish him well, really, I'm not scaring him. I look forward to advising him here on TV. But the thing is, he should demystify the police further, create a more engaging platform so that, as one of my colleagues said here, Kenyans don't feel that they need to fear the police.
Thank you. And thank you for voicing your concerns and also your advice as well. We have some messages. Let's take a look at those before we take a quick break. We still have a lot to discuss about this and we do appreciate all your feedback. But let's take a look at what some Kenyans have to say about this topic. Nixon Dugire, loyal viewer of this program. Thank you so much, Nixon. You say zero tolerance on corruption in the traffic department. Beginning with all the roadblocks and weighbridges, you're looking for change in that from the IG designate.
And we have Komen, another ardent viewer as well. Many Kenyans hope that the new IG will work on the police software, behavior change and citizen-centered policing. The police hardware has been substantially enhanced, including vehicles which are in good condition. Many Kenyans still feel endangered by rogue police officers despite their motto, Utumishi kwa wote.
All right, those are SMSs.
And we have another tweet, I believe.
One tweet. Let me just handle that. Jerusalem, I think this is also someone who watches the show quite a bit. Police remain the most corrupt. His two predecessors have talked tough about dealing with graft among police. It has all turned out to be in vain. That's according to Jerusalem. I hope this IG will give us better results in this war.
All right. And on that note, we take a short break. Keep your comments coming as well. We want to hear what your expectations are for the new IG designate. We'll sample some of them during this broadcast. 22422 0719 777. You can have your views live on air as well. You can tweet at Trevor Mbija, at Waiga Mwaura, and the hashtag is Daybreak. We're back in just a bit.
He's the first governor of Mombasa County and has hinted at contesting for the nation's top seat in 2022.
I will give it a shot because I know what I want, and I know that I mean well for this country. Sometimes you will win, sometimes you will lose. But the point is, you must give it a shot.
We get to see the other side to the man many call 001, Sultan, Mombasa County Governor Ali Hassan Joho.
Immaterial of the position I'm holding, I have to live my life, because there certainly shall be life after politics.
Success Factor, this Friday, 9 p.m.
Jackpot mbao ya kupa fursa ya kushinda shilingi milioni 20 kila wiki. Cheza sasa. M-Pesa 20 bob kwa nambari 290063, account number SJM#auto kwa walio na miaka 18 na juu pekee. Sheria na masharti kutumika. Shabiki Jackpot mbao, ni zamu yako.
Jipange, on the network that never lets you down. Now you can talk more, chat more, and browse more with Safaricom's all-in-one monthly bundle. You now have one less thing to worry about. Talk more with your folks, chat more with your friends, and browse more to improve your business. Dial *544# and choose an all-in-one bundle that works for you. Nawe kila wakati. Safaricom, twaweza.
Hero Roy, hai. Hii simu mimi imeanguka kwa nyumba ya ng'ombe Hero. Acha mimi natafuta hii simu. Alafu nashika hii simu yako Hero. Ngoja kidogo Hero. Kidogo tu nashika hii simu yako. Hapana kata simu Hero. Mimi nashika simu yako. Hey.
To get Ndawo as your skiza tune, simply dial *811 *45#.
Kumbakira musaraki. Kumbakira musangura. Ichandangu chariga. Chariga. Ichamugize chariga. Chariga. Nakoronde hai. Mukirangilo cheto. Vuka FM 95.4. Moyo gumura goligoi.
Omurekere sumusime wa Sulu FM. Nga Englandala ya hubo nambonyola bipindi na mwekimise kefwe mungila chingwa alafu. Kwabere na kukaluha sya luhu Sulu FM. Nenono bise bino kunyoleka ku 89.6 FM. Sulu FM.
Inda ya mlembe ni ngali rejelesi ya machinini kashire pa amagana ameche sionira batangazaji bomuliro Western Nene Nyanza kuliku 99.0 FM, Nairobi Nene Central kuliku 97.9 FM, Eldoret kuliku 95.8 FM.
Embe FM omoyo kwa banuya.
Western Kenya tuko ngangari.
Jipange na View sasa. Shinda mamilioni ya pesa kwenye Jipange na View sasa. Bonyeza *487# ujipe nafasi ya kushinda shilingi 100,000 kwa wiki na milioni 1 kwa mwezi na zawadi kuu shilingi milioni 5. Ni rahisi, bonyeza *487# ukitumia aina yoyote ya simu ya mkononi. Tazama video au sikilize kiburudisho ndani ya View sasa na upate pointi. Shiriki mara nyingi uwezavyo ili kuongeza nafasi yako ya kujishindia mamilioni kwa bei nafuu ya 10 bob tu. Ukiwa na pointi nyingi ndivyo unavyoongezea nafasi ya kushinda. Jipange ushindi na View sasa. Shinda milioni 5 na 10 bob pekee.
Baba yai.
Mama Ben.
Nataka uniongezee tray 10.
Mtajaribu.
Sawa.
Tala gives you instant loans with low fees straight to your M-Pesa stress-free. Tala, what's your story?
Welcome back. Many thanks for staying with us here on Daybreak. We continue with our discussion, and our guests still remain the same as well. We are asking you, what are your expectations for the new Inspector General Designate of Police? Hilary Mutyambai is his name, a name many people did not know before yesterday, but now he'll be a man you'll be referring to quite a bit in the future, depending on how his vetting process goes. Now, we're discussing him and the police force in general, and Werunga, I want to come to you now and find out from you your thoughts on this. Transfer of presidential power in the next 4 years. The elephant in the room. How crucial is the IG pick in all of this?
I think one is, and let me be a devil's advocate. Some people don't like the way I speak about these things.
So giving a disclaimer.
Yes.
Before you go ahead.
I've looked, and I'm not competent to talk about our president in depth. But I think to President Uhuru, this is not an issue. But to his handlers, it could be an issue. You get my point? So whoever suggested this man to him is the person we should be talking about if we knew.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but for the president...
Several names are presented to him. The president, we think these are the people that...
Then he picks one of them. But you see, this name, because he's a person who is not known anywhere, I'm sure the president did not know him. He must have been given a name, given a background, given a short brief about this guy, given a very good dossier about him. Then he said, these three, you can pick one. So he ends up, and when you look at the posting yesterday, the appointments, I like talking about Article 10 of the Constitution. Yeah. And it's fairly covered now because we have Mr. Kinuthia, who is the chairman of the PSC. We have this guy, IG. We have now this weekly for Molo, prisons. So there's a bit of some balance in terms of what the law says. But yes, I'm sure now there are people already who are looking at this appointment in terms of the elections 2022. What I would want to tell this guy is that he's joining a system, and I like using the word system, that is now functional. We have a minister who is doing a great job in terms of cleaning the interior ministry.
Some say 2 years ago the system turned on the people.
No. I think it's about the person who is working on the system. Okay. You know, like they say, it's the person who is in charge. The system can be rotten, but the person who takes charge will always change things around. So I think with the minister, we give him some credit. He's really trying to clean that ministry. It's awesome. It is difficult. But I think this man has no choice but to come and join the winning team. Because now with the, of course Kinoti is going to be his junior, but he's doing his work very well. DPP, independent, doing their work very well. We are waiting to see how Twalib is going to move forward. And therefore this guy cannot afford to be the Lone Ranger when even his own boss, the minister, is doing a great job. So my expectation from this guy, and I'm not a good body reader, but when you look at when you look at this face, I think he's not wishy-washy. I hope you get what I'm saying. He gives you an impression of a person who can stand his ground, a person who can give you some confidence in terms of personality. But now let's wait and see how he's coming to merge with the rest. The good thing, and I want to repeat, is coming in when the systems are working.
So it's just to implement.
So he has to come in, implement, and work with others. The only thing I want him, and this is my small, simple, stupid advice, the biggest problem we have with policing in this country is at the station level. If I were him, the first thing I'll do is to come and see how to deal with station commanders. Either you improve on their capacity, you take them back on leadership courses, you give them a chain of command that they have nowhere they can cheat along the way, give them some customer care training, so, because that is the nerve of policing in this country.
Okay. Let's bring in Joshua Mutinda, is calling from Muranga. Joshua, good morning.
Morning, Trevor.
Yes, go ahead with the comment or question, Joshua.
Yes, two very quick points.
Yes.
Number one, you've been asking us as Kenyans what we are expecting from the new IG. I think, allow me to say that Kenyans are fatigued, Trevor, because we've been getting a lot of tough talk, very high expectations about some of the people who take up positions. Okay. And then at the end of the day, there's nothing to show for it. Look at the police force.
Yeah.
You drive from Nyeri to Nairobi, and you see the kind of corruption on our roads perpetrated by our traffic officers. It is appalling. That's number one. Number two, I don't know why we are never given the credentials of some of these appointees. And by credentials, I mean, we don't just need to know that they have been this, they are qualified in this. We need to know the special reasons why they were picked. Like, for example, his performance in this particular area was exemplary, and they itemized all these things. Finally, allow me, and I'm asking Mwenda to address this issue. I have very close connections to the police service. Yeah. And I asked one of my relatives why I never see police officers wearing bulletproof vests when they are manning banks and what have you. And he told me that they are not even allowed to use those bulletproof vests. So I asked myself, why put our police officers in harm's way when the country and the nation has invested so heavily? So when I asked them, they said that they are not even allowed to use them. Can he please try to look at police officers' welfare? And finally, let him give us some deliverables and a score sheet whereby we can take him, we can actually hold him to account at the end of his tenure. And number one should be fighting corruption. My advice to Mr. Mutyambai is that he'll be presiding over the most corrupt institution in the country. So let him start working and let's see results. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Thank you so much. That's Joshua there from Muranga. Very interesting points. Do you want to respond to any of them, Monica, even as you give your, even as you give your perspective on this question about the role of the IG designate who, should be the IG in a couple of weeks, even in terms of 2022, and why a lot of people would have wanted a certain person to be the IG in the hope that they'll be favorable to them at that time.
Yes. About 2022, as I said, Wehega, it's still too early to talk about politics. So we expect him to handle matters with no bias as at now and not politicize issues with his current responsibilities. So about matters of bulletproof and matters of police welfare
he said high expectations. High expectations that are not met as a Kenyan. That's Joshua there.
And he also says that he wants them to show the credentials of these people who are being nominated.
We do not know his credentials. So maybe by the end of today, because they just he was just appointed today, maybe a CV will be published today. Maybe so let's wait. 91 pages. So let's wait today, because even the report that we got today, yesterday, we didn't have, as you called me yesterday, we didn't even know. I just came to know later. So
but
let's
Monica, in terms of reforms, what do you think should be prioritized here? Because there's one thing that Simi was bringing up, dealing with the station chiefs and making sure that they've been retrained on certain aspects. But there's also the aspect of the police themselves, their motivations, their morale. What are the main issues that they need to focus on in terms of police reforms? Because you've been there, I know you know the issues that are facing them.
I think they should involve police in the matters of decision making. Even if they are their juniors, they should bring them on board when they are making such decisions pertaining their welfare and their day-to-day work.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, the caller, Mr. Mutinda, when I saw the name Mutinda, I thought he was saying, he's my neighbor. So, because this man, maybe you guys should send cameras to his village and just try to know who this guy is. Because I can assure you, we won't know much. So you media people must go to his high school maybe, talk to his principal. We must know the character behind that face. That face looks so serious.
This gentleman is so scared of this man.
He's scared.
He has Facebook to protect.
Can you declare your interest?
Yes, personal
interest. Listen, I need you to unravel, help us unravel and understand this gentleman. Because world over, I mean, we've traveled to a couple of countries. World over, the police is seen as an open institution. And my fear, and I'm not quite scared of him, than I'm scared of what he could do. Bring secrecy in the police. There has been an open... See, the other day, the DCI, Mr. Kinoti, even published a list of who he was investigating and why. Actually, there was a murder that happened in Huruma. Then there was speculation about this woman. A human rights groups, civil rights groups went to the road and even blocked the road at near Dista University next to the mortuary. There was allegation how this person died. Then the DCI publishes the story, says, no, she went to this clinic, she did this, she did this. I said, this is phenomenal. We've never seen police talk like this before. There's such change. And as my senior, Werunga, said, he has people to benchmark with. He has his boss, Matiang'i. Actually, the president. He has his boss, the president. He has Matiang'i following. He has his other colleagues, his juniors now, we will be commanding DCI, his deputy at administration police and deputy at the police.
He has his work cut out.
Yeah. His work is, he has people to benchmark with. He cannot underperform.
Fair enough. Hang on there because we want to bring in Francis, another caller from Muranga. What's your comment or question, Francis? Hello, good morning, Francis. What's your question or comment? I don't know whether you scared him away.
Yeah.
So I want to speak directly to Joshua.
And you are one of the activists he was talking about. But that's a story for another day.
So I just want to speak directly to Joshua. You know, it's often said, I think Frederick Douglass many years ago, the anti-slavery champion, said, power concedes nothing without a organized public demand. And you know, performance will not manifest unless there is a demand for standards and for benchmarking and for improved service. You will get nothing with resignation or cynicism about the police. So I think there has to be an active engagement in the process of the vetting. And it is good that we are having this conversation. It is also important that people actually submit a memoranda to the parliament so that actually when the vetting takes place, it is informed by public, public views and public expectations. You can't expect somebody to perform when you have not given him clarity on what it is that he needs to do. If it is only the politicians who are giving him clarity, he will be the tool of politicians. If he is going to work in the public interest, then the public interest must manifest itself. So there are a number of things that I would just suggest very quickly. First of all, he comes at an interesting time. The restructuring of the police service gives him an opportunity to do exactly what Simiyu Werunga is saying, which is to start investing in the police service command and control systems that go down to the police stations. He does not have the confusion of the dual administrative police and the regular police that his predecessor had. And we can thank Inspector General Bonnet for managing that process before he left.
No, the president.
Right. The announcement was the president, the leadership came from the Minister of the Interior, but I think it happened, it will be left with the Inspector General as one of his successes. Maybe we can debate this one.
He doesn't quite agree.
The question about 2022 is not...
Hold that thought on the question on 2022. We have a caller online
Should be Wafula.
West Wafula. Wafula, good morning. What's your comment or question? Wafula? All right, I think this is all Bijiwe's fault. It's Bijiwe's fault.
2022 briefly.
2022 is not so much about the presidential election. It is, are we going to see hundreds of Kenyans brutalized?
Should they choose to protest?
Should they choose to protest? So public order management and the policing of assemblies and the freedom of expression, the freedom of organization, that is really the challenge that the IG designate needs to start thinking about now. And there are many guidelines that he can follow. The Kenya National Commission for Human Rights has a wonderful guideline for police officers and for activists like Bijiwe, like myself, to make sure that actually when we protest non-violently and within the context of the Constitution, we are actually using a set of disciplined guidelines to make sure that nobody gets hurt, not just civilians, but even people in uniform. I mean, I think one of the shames of last year was really that we saw a lot of officers who were hurt either by the hurling of stones or the use of firearms as well. Now, very quickly, the last couple of things that I would probably suggest. If he came out in front of the parliamentary committee by declaring he will have zero tolerance and will spare no officer that either commits human rights violations or is found guilty of corruption, I think this country would rally behind him.
Okay.
Right? The second one, I think, is if he can generate a system that is data-based, that allows us to be able to look at the statistics that come out of the management of crime in a way in which it is transparent and he can be measured not on the basis of his intentions, but on the basis of the results that he's bringing. These are the two suggestions. I have three others, but let me leave you with those two.
No, the three others you'll give them to us in the final comments. I would like to know what he should prioritize. But Simi, you had brought this up earlier on, and Kanyi Gyoko is saying the same thing on Twitter. He says the entire police force needs to be revamped. I've gone through harrowing experiences which I wouldn't wish even my worst enemy. He says it's expensive to deal with the police, bearing in mind this comes when you're deeply in an issue. So is this a matter of restructuring or retraining?
No. There's, police, discipline service, we use two words, command and leadership. You command and you provide leadership. So what we are lacking, and in many police stations, we may have good people running police stations, but I think we need serious re-engineering of how these officers deal with the people. That does not come easily through talking. You must take them through some retraining. And one of the things that I think we did not put a lot of emphasis when we are doing police reforms is that we came up with benchmarks across structure, top down, down up. But the people at that time never realized that our biggest problem in this country, once you deal with a police station, Kenyans will never complain. Because these are the people who do the beats on the roads. These are the people who do the beats in the streets. These are the people who raid changa dens. These are the people who arrest you at night and they report to the police station commander. So once we have these people surely knowing that this is a new paradigm shift in how we are policing this country.
New broom.
That is what, and I think when you listen to Matiang'i, he has those handicaps. You remember the story of Nyeri, where officer slapped some lady. Then when he followed the story, they had even lied to the OCPD. The OCPD used those lies to lie to the county commander because the OCS lied to his boss, the boss lied to commander, the commander lied to regional commander. So in essence, what we want this guy to come, because all these things now have been looked at again. People have actually written books, Nani will bear with me, Houghton. People have now actually generated literature on what needs to be done. And to me, that is where the new IG, as he comes in to ensure that the reforms are actualized, I'll wish that he goes to that place. Number two, just as I finish, traffic department.
Elephant in the room.
I don't know what we should do. I think what we need to do, this is my suggestion, radical, disband the whole thing.
Is it fair to heap the blame, and this was the last comment to you, to heap the blame solely on the police? What role do Kenyans, drivers, play in the madness of traffic?
I'll tell you why I don't agree with that thought process. People will always say, but Kenyans are so corrupt.
No, the giver of the bribe is as guilty as the receiver, for example.
I've been given a uniform to do my job. That job does not give me the mandate to negotiate with you because I use the law.
You're not now a member of KRA.
Yes, I use the law. So if you get me with an offense, you don't need to negotiate with me. So when you start negotiating with me, you are giving me an opportunity to negotiate with you and bribe you.
And this is a common practice abroad.
And let me tell you,
US police officers will never say anything. They just
come with a ticket, you know, sir, you know, you've done this and I'm giving you a ticket and thank you very much. Here's your ticket. So we cannot blame Kenya. People like saying we bribe both sides. No, I've been trained, I have uniform to deal with traffic offenses. Let me do my job.
Okay, I need to stop you there because we have a caller from Wajir for a short comment or question. Go ahead. Mohammed, do you have a question or comment? Please go ahead. Okay.
Today these calls are not coming.
I don't know.
They were scared.
They were scared.
Now maybe something on
give us your final thoughts. I have a question for you.
Yes.
Would you have any thoughts about any unique challenges that women in the police service face that you hope to see reforms in the future. I'm curious, what's the ratio of women to men in the police force? Could that be the way, one way to soften, the police service by having more women there as well? What are your thoughts about that, even as you give us your final comments?
Yeah, there are challenges that women go through in their work as police officers. One is sexual harassment. So as for me, I would expect the incoming IG to tackle matters of sexual harassment in the police.
From colleagues or from external, or a mix?
Or both?
Both.
Both?
Yes, both. Okay. That they are able to create a central place, even in the police, where our ladies office security officers should relay their cases. Because sometimes they are not able to relay their sexual harassment from their bosses because of the rank and the command, the chain of command. So they can create a central place where they can be able to relay their issues. Maybe something to talk about his concentration on counterterrorism. I would also expect him not only to counter matters of counterterrorism, but also on anti-radicalization of our youth into terrorism or violent extremism. So let's see on the ground matters of tackling anti-radicalization of our youth.
Which comes before the terrorism now.
Yeah, which comes before the terrorism.
Yes.
He should engage himself with the public and everyone, so that they can feel that they're dealing with the right person.
Okay.
Yes.
Mwenda?
Well,
I'm worried.
Yeah.
One shot.
I want to welcome our brother to the hot seat. The job is cut for him. 2022 is doing like this to him.
Yeah. It's not as far away as we think.
He will be tested to his core by 2022. And going by the rhetoric from politicians already, his job is cut. He's going to be on the spot. And Amnesty International, Transparency International,
waiting for him.
All these international organizations are waiting on him. They'll fry him like this, like this, like this. But what I will ask him to do is have a humble heart, pray to God to lead him. This is a praying country. If he gets stuck, he should even plead for people to help him pray. But more than that, he's going to have to be an humble person, engage with his colleagues. One of his predecessors, I will not mention, and surely it's not Boynet, so you can guess. I paid him a courtesy call one time, and he didn't even have 1 minute for me. He was looking at me through his upper glasses like this, and I felt completely disrespected, and I've never gone back to that office, and later Boynet came. But the thing is, some of these brothers of ours get these positions and think they have now come close to God. My friend, that's a public office. He's going to treat his colleagues with respect, treat Kenyans with respect. If Monica shows up, he's going to have to listen to Monica. If he doesn't, then he will leave another legacy. But for Boynet, I think Boynet has left it well. I mean, he left a mark over there, and we wish him well.
Maybe what he means is that he should create an open door office.
Okay, open door policy.
You had 3 more things to say, but also at the same time, Dr. Andrew Sule says the work and life of a police is like that of a doctor. Only blames, no appreciation at all. Which
is why I'd asked the question about traffic, but I like the way you responded to it.
So maybe let me respond to Andrew's comment. I think first let me just dispense with, just the Inspector General is stepping down. He has had a tour of service. There are 2 things that I think probably we'll remember him for. One is the work around, the improved work around terrorism, particularly around the Dusit D2. We will also probably remember him for, and I think there may be a difference of view on the panel, but we'll remember him for the police reforms that have happened under his watch. All the shortcomings, and there are a few shortcomings which will make the work of the IG designate even more hard for him to come in. But really, I think what we say about leadership is leadership needs adversity. It needs challenge in order to distinguish itself, and that's how you build a distinguished career and a 91-page CV. So I will put a couple on the table for the IG designate. The first is, for me, is that there are 2 faces of the police service. There is the face that I think Simiyu has very vividly depicted, and it's the view that most Kenyans have. We did a survey last year, and something like about 42% of the people we surveyed said that actually the police service continues to be the most corrupt and the most violating in terms of people's rights. That's one face. The second phase is the phase of officers like, for example, Joseph Thenge, the officer that stood in Kibra to stop a crowd of people back in 2008, or even somebody like Chief Inspector Penina Karicha, who basically disarmed an officer who was drunk on duty and was threatening to kill civilians. And I think the last one for me is always Joash Ombati, who got a presidential commendation last year because he refused, under pressure from a community, not to execute somebody on the streets of Nairobi. Those are the police officers that I would like to see the IG designate, empower, honor, and give them the space to police us in a manner that is fit with our constitution and the rule of law.
Okay, thank you so much. And I think that's how we wrap it up. Let's take a look at a few SMSs before we wind up this session. Coming up on the screen now, and thank you to everyone. We've seen a lot of feedback beyond just what we're going to read right now, and that should be up on the screen. Mary Kakenya says, we never have the perfect person. Remember, let's give the new guy support and keep watching. I'm not sure if she was speaking to anyone in particular in our panel here today.
Yeah, still have more coming in. Seth says, police force a deep ocean and the new IG will just sink in.
Oh, it's rather pessimistic.
Right, yeah.
Okay, that's...
Fortunately, it says force, not service. So maybe this is a previous...
previous dispensation.
Previous perspective that it's a force rather than a service.
Simiu Werunga, Monica Gitao, of course, Mwenda Bijiwe and Irungu Houghton, thank you so much for finding time to be here with us today. To all our viewers, everyone who called, and even those we couldn't speak to.
Yep.
Thank you as well. Trevor, where are we headed to next?
We eat. Breakfast is served with Willis. That's the highlight of this show, by the way. So, see you in a bit.